This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 39.
Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Linn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club.
Hello, highly sensitive person, and welcome to this week's episode of the Highly Sensitive Club. I have a big grin on my face because I get so fired up about this topic, and I am really excited to talk to you about this today because I have been saying this a lot lately. Today's topic is how to own your gifts as a highly sensitive person. And the title of this episode is Humility is Overrated. Humility is overrated because when you try to force yourself to be humble in order to protect yourself from other people's judgments, in order to keep yourself small and safe, you forego the opportunity to actually take pride in what you do. True pride is when you are accepting of the things that you are good at and the things that you have accomplished. We can often say, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you to our loved ones when they do something or make a huge breakthrough or decide to make a big decision for themselves. And we're so happy for them, but yet we're not allowed to be proud of ourselves. And this comes from a very well-intentioned desire that our parents, our teachers, our authority figures tried to instill in us not to be arrogant. They didn't want us to be spoiled. They didn't want us to brag about ourselves. They didn't want us to have a false sense of superiority to other people. And so a lot of times we were taught, well, don't get too big for your britches or stop bragging about yourself. Nobody wants to hear about that. Especially as highly sensitive people, we are sensitive to the expectations of others, particularly those that we love or respect or who protect us and keep us safe. We want to be comfortable, we want to be loved, and we are very, very attuned to what the people around us want from us and expect from us, especially as children. So it makes sense that your loved ones were trying to instill in you probably a positive work ethic, a team-oriented attitude so that you can play well with others and make friends and get into relationships and find someone to be happy with for the rest of your life. They wanted the best for you, and so they tried to squelch any feelings that you were becoming arrogant. This makes sense. Arrogance, however, is trying to use status to make yourself feel better about yourself. It means that there's an inherent hierarchy or a binary where you are successful and someone else is not. It's a win-lose proposition when you're arrogant. You have to be better than someone else in order to feel good about yourself. Building your self-esteem on trying to feel better than others is practically impossible, and it's a recipe for imposter syndrome. It's a recipe for insecurity, and a lot of times it gives us very self-centered qualities because we're so concerned with comparing ourselves to other people in order to feel good about ourselves. True pride, however, is when you are owning your gifts, and you, as a highly sensitive person, have a lot of gifts. You are probably a high achiever because you have very high standards and you know what really high quality work and really high quality effort looks like. You empathize with people so easily. It comes naturally to you to see what other people are feeling. It's very easy for you to pick up on subtleties and nuances and details that other people might miss. So you can put together a much more full picture than someone who's taking a cursory glance or just scanning something. You can scan the same thing and pick up way more information. All of these gifts are really marvelous. And on top of that, you have other gifts that are particularly yours as well. Maybe you're very perceptive. Maybe you have a bias to action. Maybe you're a great self-starter. Maybe you're incredibly nurturing and you're wonderful in your relationships. This topic came up yesterday with my client because she has this very funny to me habit of saying not to be cocky. And then she always says something really positive about herself afterwards. I know she wants to prevent someone from judging her preemptively. And this makes sense because we all do this. But usually the thing that she says after, not to be cocky, but it's true. She really is perceptive. She really is wonderful with people. She really is someone who walks the talk. She really does invest in her relationships and connect deeply with other people. I don't mind any of that cocky at all. I can't tell you how many other highly sensitive friends, colleagues, and clients I have heard similar things from. Not to be cocky, not to toot my own horn, not to brag or anything. And then usually there's something very positive on the other side. Most of the time, when someone says these things, they're not saying, I'm amazing because I beat out all of these other people. Isn't that incredible? No, they're saying, I really take pride in the work that I do. They're saying, I like to solve problems and I like to help people. None of those things are bragging or arrogant. When you can actually own those things about yourself, you lean into your gifts and you use them more readily because you don't have any sense of guilt or shame about owning who you are and the things that you're really good at. It is useful to remember that you are not alone in the world. You are not the only one who's working hard. You are not the only one who contributes to success often because you're working with your customers, you're working with your bosses, you're working with your loved ones, you're working with your family and your friends to make things better. Whether that's your relationships, whether that's your occupation, or whether that's making the world a better place. We are always in relationship with other people. And so, of course, we are good team players. Of course, we're conscientious of other people. Of course, we want to acknowledge the contributions that other people make. But oftentimes, as highly sensitive people, we prioritize other people's contributions and we minimize our own. I think we put ourselves down because we're afraid of people's judgment. We want to preempt someone else's bad opinion of us by judging ourselves first. So we put ourselves down. We make ourselves small. I was faced with this specifically last year, and it's how I came up with this phrase, humility is overrated. Because I had gone up to Michigan to see my mentor, shout out to Emily Otto, for a VIP day where we spend 5 hours together really digging into my business and my messaging and where I wanted to go. Because this was a business meeting and because I love Emily and was so excited about this, I put effort into my appearance. I frequently put effort into my appearance, but I looked particularly good that day. I had on these cute lightning patterned leggings and a matching blue sweater with a vest over it because I love vests. And I had on these super cute lace up boots. It was last fall. On the way home to Columbus, I stopped at a Starbucks to grab a pumpkin spice chai because, yes, I am a basic bee about pumpkin. I stopped and I wanted to go to the bathroom because it's a 3-hour drive. So I was waiting for the bathrooms to clear, and this gentleman, shall we call him, said, I don't mean to be creepy, but you look really good today. And I sort of made a coy gesture and I said, thank you. And he said, but stay humble about it. And I said, oh, yeah, of course. And then on my way out, I sashayed by him and picked up my drink and my food and I headed out the door. But on the way home, it really bothered me that he'd said, but stay humble. And I had just automatically agreed with him because I had put effort into looking that way. I had spent a good half hour, 45 minutes picking out my outfit so that I would feel really good. I did my hair. I did my makeup. I had put in an effort to look that good. I take pride in my appearance. And the fact that somebody complimented me and then immediately wanted me not to own it, not to take it on, not to get too big for my britches, made me so annoyed because, of course, I looked good. It wasn't by accident. I didn't just wake up that way and then go off to a business meeting. And it irritated me that someone would compliment me and then try to put me back in my place in the same breath. We negate the thing that we're about to claim for ourselves and that we're about to share with someone by saying, I don't want to be too cocky about this. I don't want to be arrogant. I don't want to brag. I don't want to seem spoiled. But there's something positive about me that I want to share. We could just skip the part where we say, I don't want to be cocky, and just say, I'm really proud of what I've done. I'm really proud of how I look today. I put in an extra effort. I'm proud of my relationships. I'm proud that I have raised really wonderful kids who are thoughtful and have integrity and are doing good things in the world. I'm proud of the efforts that I'm making in my life to improve what I am doing. 5 weeks ago at this point, I was in a big car crash. My car was T-boned by a U-Haul, and luckily the car took the brunt of the impact. I walked away with some bumps and bruises and a broken wrist that I had surgery on. And as they were rushing me to the hospital to make sure that I didn't have any major trauma, and they were doing the CAT scan and the x-rays and all of the things, and I was mourning the loss of my wonderful car, Evie, my little HRV, I was thinking to myself, this could be one of the worst things that has ever happened to me, to be in this really scary car accident. It could make me afraid to drive. It could make me afraid to go back through that intersection. It could make me a lot of things. It could make me feel like I'm being set back. It could make me think that this was horrible and it should never have happened to me. I could start blaming myself and say, I never should have made that turn. I should have known better. I should have seen that person was going to run through the yellow light. I should have seen all of these things and turn it back on myself. But I also saw the other option where I could look back on what happened in a year or 2 years or 5 years and think, that was a great opportunity. That was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I chose in that moment to be my future self who looked back on this experience and thought, I made the best of this. I really made something of this opportunity. And even though it was a challenge, even though it was scary, even though I wouldn't choose a car crash by any means to change my life, I can choose what to do with the aftermath. I haven't shared recently what has been going on in my business and in my life, so I will give you a little bit of behind the scenes because this is relevant. I have been growing my coaching business for the last year and a half. I have been working as a mentor coach for my certification program, Thriving Coach Academy, which I also love very much. And on slow weeks or in between client payments, I was also doing delivery driving, food delivery, because I wanted to save all of my energy for my mentor sessions and my client sessions so that I could bring my energy to the people that I wanted to interact with instead of trying to entertain people in my back seat by driving Uber or Lyft or something like that. And I had been doing a lot of coaching around the fact that I didn't want to drive anymore. It was costing me a lot of wear and tear on my wonderful car. It was costing me a lot of gas money to go out and do these deliveries. And it was draining my energy because I was driving so much in order to fill in the gaps in between payments that I was tired. And I didn't realize how tired I was until I got into the accident and I was no longer allowed to work. I would easily say I was working about 50 hours a week between my clients, growing my business, working on marketing, working with my mentees, running practice calls for the school, and driving. I would say a 50-hour week is not a good amount of time for a highly sensitive person because we need a lot more downtime because we're processing more than other people. So it's possible I was able to shift into fifth gear and work 50, 55 hours a week if I needed to in order to cover all of my bills. But all I wanted to do was spend more time finding more clients, helping more people, spreading the word about high sensitivity, that it's not a curse, that it can actually be a wonderful gift. And I just wanted to put all of my energy into my business and into my mentees. And I felt like I couldn't do that because I felt like I needed to drive in order to continue to pay my bills and bring in income and bring in the savings and pay off the debt that I have been working really diligently at for the last couple of years. And it turns out the universe was like, no problem. You want to stop driving? Let's make sure you stop driving. And I had a moment of panic as I was sitting in my car waiting for the EMTs thinking, I need to cancel my mastermind call tonight. I need to cancel my client session tomorrow and reschedule it. I need to make sure that they know I can't run the practice call tomorrow. And this means I'm not going to be able to drive for the foreseeable future. What does that mean for me? And it turns out that it doesn't mean anything. The only one who was keeping me stuck in that situation was myself. I was not able to drive until 2 weeks ago. So for 3 weeks, all I was supposed to do was stay at home, rest, let my injuries recover, and prepare for surgery on my wrist. I was not allowed to do a lot of work. I had to slow down. I had to make changes in my schedule. I did end up working a few days in between the accident and the surgery, and my mental capability was there and my energy was there, but physically I felt really tired. And it became so apparent to me how much I had been pushing myself and how much I had been sacrificing my rest and my physical health in order to make all of these financial goals happen and to do as much work as I could on myself and on my business, in addition to having a side gig that helped me bring in more income. It turns out that the universe showed me it was not going to be the end of the world. I have been able to cover all of my major expenses. I have been able to get support from my loved ones. I have been able to slow things down and change payments or lower the amount that I'm putting into savings, and nothing bad has happened. It really wasn't the end of the world. And I had gotten myself so stuck in this mindset that I had to keep going the way that I was, maybe indefinitely. I had no idea when I was going to be able to stop doing delivery driving to fill in the gaps, that I hadn't really opened myself to any other possibilities beyond that. I thought I had to take on everything myself. I thought that I had to push myself harder and harder and harder and be more and more productive. I thought that I needed to be at the top of my game and use my time and my energy the most efficiently. I learned that I was the one keeping myself stuck. I was the one who had narrowed my focus and put on blinders to any other opportunities and possibilities that came my way until I was forced to see my life in a different way and see my business in a different way and see opportunities in a different way. This is true humility. When you are able to look at a situation realistically, to see the places where you have fallen short or where your flaws have come in, and to also see how you can change, how you can grow, how you can pivot and continue to improve. And these are all things that you do really, really well as a highly sensitive person. I am proud of the fact that I took something really horrible that happened and turned it into an opportunity and chose to see it in the most positive way possible. I want that accident to be a turning point when I look back at the last few years that helped me get back on track to where I want to be with my business, with my clients, and with my life. I took the first opportunity I had when I was cleared to drive to go back through that intersection and to make that left turn. And I have to say, when I made the turn, I had this huge well up of emotion, but I was able to complete the cycle in my body. And I then turned around and drove right back through the intersection again so that I would never feel fear or anxiety about that intersection. I never want that accident to affect the way that I approach my life moving forward. And so every single step of the way, I reminded myself, this is not the end of the world. This does not have to be a traumatic event for me. I can use this as an opportunity to move forward. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of making that choice for myself. I'm proud of standing up for my future self. I'm proud of not letting the fear get the best of me and to tap into my courage and my bravery to be able to face down that same situation and come out on the other side and feel totally okay. The irony of this situation is that I have occupational therapy 2 times a week for the next 5 to 6 weeks, and I have to drive through that intersection every single time I go to those sessions. So I am definitely not going to be super sensitive to that intersection by the time I'm done, and that makes me happy. It makes me happy that a situation that happened to me in the past is not going to dictate my future. It makes me really proud that I know no matter what has happened to me in the past, I can choose who I want to be in the future moving forward. And this is important for you too, highly sensitive person, because your memories are probably really intense because they have very intense emotions attached to them. You came up with coping mechanisms. You came up with survival strategies. You came up with habits and patterns and ways of being because that was how you learned to survive and that was how you learned to be loved and accepted. It also means that you don't have to keep those things. You don't have to be humble. You don't have to keep yourself small. You actually can choose to be proud of the person that you have become and everything that you've gained up to this point, everything that you've done for yourself and for other people up until today. And you can choose to own those things. Because when you own your gifts and when you own what's really important to you, you stop yourself from feeling like a fraud and falling into imposter syndrome. You actually stop yourself from falling into the perfectionism trap because you're more able to acknowledge the places where you have flaws or where you're not as strong because you're so clear about what you are good at and what your gifts are and where your talents lie. So you actually have a more realistic view of yourself, which helps you be truly humble to recognize when other people are filling in the gaps for you and where you're getting support. It helps you to recognize that other people love you regardless of your flaws, that you don't have to be perfect and you don't have to be your best version all the time in order to be loved and accepted. In fact, the more pride you take in the things that you are really good at and truly have as gifts, the more likely you are to be able to acknowledge the things that you're not as good at in your growth areas, or to be able to let those things go and delegate them, or stop worrying about them and stop beating yourself up for not being this perfect human that doesn't even exist. To recap, you are not being arrogant, which means trying to put yourself above other people in order to feel better, when you are taking true pride in yourself and in your gifts. By taking pride in your gifts, you become more confident, you become more confident, you express more courage because you can see where your gifts and your strengths are and lean into those things instead of focusing on all the negative things that you don't have or that you don't do as well. And by acknowledging the things that you're good at, you actually make more room to acknowledge and accept the things that you're not good at, which is true humility. It also helps you lean into your support, your loved ones, and to be vulnerable, as I mentioned in the previous episode, so that you can move forward with progress. I hope that these stories and this episode were helpful for you, because you should be able to claim your gifts as a highly sensitive person. The world needs more high sensitivity in it, because you bring your strengths of empathy, of problem solving, of high standards, of high achievement, your desire for meaning and depth. You bring connection to everything that you do. I think the world needs that now more than ever, especially in fall of 2024, as the US is coming up on one of the most divisive presidential elections ever. People are more likely to argue and disagree and to dig in their heels about things than they ever have before. And there's this dichotomy and this very strong us versus them mentality right now. You, as a highly sensitive person, are really good at seeing the other side, at being able to understand what other people are experiencing and what they're prioritizing. We need you to step up and share your gifts, because the more you do, the more you're able to help others and contribute to an overall positive world. I believe that this is the truth, that you should be able to share your high sensitivity without fear of judgment and without fear of other people trying to put you down, because you're welcome here, you're needed here, and I want you to share your highly sensitive gifts. Please take pride in your gifts and who you are as a highly sensitive person, because humility is overrated. Now, if you liked what I shared in this episode and you want to choose what you would like to make of your future, if you would like to take these same things and to really lean into your gifts and to learn how to quiet all of those voices that are telling you, don't get too big for your britches, stop bragging, you're too sensitive, you're too much. Who are you to share your gifts? Who are you to claim this success? I would love to help you. Please go to stephanielinn.com, that's Linn, and book a call with me. Even on the call, I will help you gain more clarity. I will help you create a map and a plan for yourself. And I will believe the heck out of you and see all of your strengths and your gifts and your values so that you can start to see those in yourself. Thank you for listening and for watching this week's episode. You can tell I'm really fired up and I feel really strongly about this. So I hope that this gives you a new perspective and that you learned something today that you can take into your life too. Be proud, share vulnerably with the people that you love, and it is going to strengthen your confidence. It's going to strengthen your relationships, and it's going to strengthen the impact and the contribution that you make in the world. Thank you, highly sensitive person, and I will see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to stephanielinn, that's Linn.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.